evening, everyone, and welcome to Books to Boots, Earning a Soccer Scholarship Abroad. Tonight's webinar is designed to give you a clear, practical game plan for how to combine your passion for soccer with your academic opportunities abroad. Whether you're just starting to explore this pathway or you're actively working towards it, we're here to help you understand what it takes and how to get there. So before we start with introducing ourselves, here's a quick overview of what we'll be discussing today. We'll be having a quick look at the overview of sports scholarships after we introduce ourselves. We will then have a brief look at the recruitment process, life as a student athlete, as well as real life and advice given to us by Keegan, and we will follow it by a Q&A session. Before we dive in, I would like for us to participate in a little activity. So if you could all please just take a moment to enter into the group chat and enter one word that describes how you're currently feeling about becoming a student athlete abroad and about the entire recruitment process, whether you be excited, nervous, happy, afraid. Just pop those feelings into the chat, and then we'll take it from there. I'll give everybody a few moments just to share, and then we'll start thereafter. Okay, we'll proceed. I'm sure there are various emotions and feelings that come with the process, which is totally normal to be experiencing. And by the end of this session, our goal is to make sure that any uncertainty will turn into clarity and your excitement will grow even stronger. Let me introduce myself briefly. My name is Shannon Morgan, and soccer has been a huge part of my life since 2010. I progressed from regional to provincial levels and was fortunate enough to earn a soccer scholarship to go and study at the University of Pretoria, where I competed in the Sasol League at a semi-professional level. I hold a degree in sports psychology, and today I stay actively involved in the game as an under-13 Gauteng Women's Development League coach, a regional player, and a ladies committee member at Panorama FC. We'll also be joined today by Keegan Lazarus, who has lived this experience and journey abroad, and he's represented his province to earning a soccer scholarship in the USA and completing a degree in psychology and counseling. And Keegan brings real, relatable experience to the table today, and he still continues to help other young athletes follow in his footsteps. And his story will give you valuable insight into what this path actually looks like. Our passion is helping student athletes unlock international opportunities, and it's something we are incredibly passionate about. And tonight, I'm excited to share what I've learned with you guys. Let's kick things off. So who is Sable International and Sable Sports? So this webinar is proudly brought to you by Sable International. We are a global company with over 25 years experience, and we help individuals, families, and businesses internationalize their lives. We have our head offices in London and 15 departments worldwide, and we specialize in cross-border financial planning, educational pathways, and immigration solutions. We support people as they move, invest, and succeed internationally. And as the sports team here at Sable, we're passionate about helping student athletes unlock global opportunities. Since our founding in 2015, we've placed over 600 students in the USA, and we sourced over $65 million in scholarships while maintaining a 100% success rate. Our mission is to bridge the gap between talent and opportunity, empowering young athletes to thrive both academically and athletically on a global stage. Please do remember that we do have the chat open. If anybody would like to pop a few questions throughout the webinar, we will revisit these questions later on in the webinar and bring some clarity to all your questions. Overview of sports scholarships. So what is a sports scholarship? At its core, a sports scholarship is financial support awarded to talented athletes to pursue higher education while competing at a high level in their sport. So you get two different types of sports scholarships. You have your full bursaries, your full scholarships, as well as your partial scholarships. So typically, a full scholarship will cover most or all of your major expenses. This will include like your tuition, your accommodation, meals, books, and these are really highly competitive, but are usually awarded to top performing athletes, both athletically and academically. We then have our partial scholarships on the other hand, and these cover only a portion of those costs. For example, it may cover just your tuition or just your housing, which means you and your family would need to fund the remaining cost either out of pocket or through other financial aid or sponsorships. We have these scholarships that exist in both the USA and the UK, but each system has its own unique structure, and I'll explain these in brief. So in the USA, your scholarships can be either full or partial, which helps, as previously mentioned, cover tuition, accommodation, meals, and more. However, you also have in the UK, which scholarships are more commonly partial bursaries or financial aid tied to universities or club partnerships. In the USA, the scholarships are offered across multiple collegiate divisions, which is the NCAA, the NAIA, and the NJCAA. We will cover this in more depth a little later in the webinar. And then these scholarships, as previously mentioned, are highly competitive, but they're also very rich in opportunity. In the UK, I have to make mention that these scholarships often include elite training environments paired with academic pathways. And regardless of your destination and where you would like to go study, the one thing that is very clear is that your academics matter when it comes to obtaining a scholarship. So coaches don't only want students who are good academically or good athletically, they would like student athletes who are disciplined on the field and in the classroom. That means you need to have a strong GPA. What this is your grade point average. And if you would like further detail with regards to this, you can pop a question in the chat and we will reach out to you at a later stage to answer this. You would also need a solid school report from grade 9 up until matric, so your entire high school career matters. And then you would also need potential SAT and ACT scores, which is mostly required in the USA, as well as a strong application profile. Once again, if you don't know what an SAT, an ACT, or any of these abbreviations mean, please do reach out in the chat and we will discuss it at a further point in the webinar. So the takeaway from this slide as a whole is you're not just applying as an athlete, you're applying as a student athlete, and you need both your academics and your athletic ability in order to shine in the USA or the UK or to earn a sports scholarship. Moving on to the recruitment process, we are going to look how you would actually get recruited. So whether you're aiming for the UK or the USA, the recruitment is all about strategy, preparation, and presentation. So when to start? Ideally, you'll begin preparing around the age of 15. So when you are in grade 10 in South Africa, this will allow time to build your academic and athletic profile, and it will allow you enough time to collect the relevant video footage you need to market yourself to the university coaches and show your talent, as well as get the right research on the programs that you would like to study once you matriculate. Your football CV. So this is basically your athletic resume. It should include your full name, the position you play, and your physical stats. So if you are a swimmer or a runner, it would need to include your personal best times. If you are a diver, it would need to include your scores. And obviously, as a football player, your position and your achievements that you've achieved to date. With regards to your academic, it would also need to include your academic background and, as mentioned, your GPA. and it would need to include references from any coaches or teachers that you've previously played under. Your highlight reel. This is your most important marketing tool. It would need to be a 3 to 5 minute video that showcase all your abilities on the field. So all your important key moments, not just the goals that you score, as well as your game intelligence, which is your technique and your technical and tactical awareness on and off the ball, whether it be a through ball, creating the goal, your crosses, putting in a tackle at the defense, saving a last minute goal, anything like that. And then you would also need to make sure that the quality of your video is clear and that you have a jersey number or an arrow or a circle, just indicating who you are on the field so that it's clear and visible for the coaches to obviously make out who you are in the video. I'll also give you a quick breakdown on the USA collegiate levels. There is also the NCAA Division 1. So these divisions are the elite competition. So this is top tier universities. It's the best of the best. It's known as your Harvards, your Stanfords, basically all your Ivy League schools and more. They consist of very high athletic and academic standards that you would need in order to get into these universities. You then have your Division 2, which also falls under the NCAA, and this would be like the likes of your University of Tampa, and these universities compete at high levels, which will also focus on academics. They are most likely smaller in class sizes and have a well-rounded student life balance. You do have your Division 3 that also falls under the NCAA. These universities are very academically focused. Although they do have sports within their universities, they don't have scholarship for sports, and therefore you need a really, really good grade point average for them to offer you an academic scholarship so that you can participate in the sport within the school, but on an academic scholarship. You then have your NAIA. These are typically your smaller universities than your NCAA universities and are more private universities. Many of these universities are religious-based universities. And then we move on to the NJCAA, also known as your junior college. These colleges are mainly a 2-year college that serves as stepping stones for students and athletes who would like to first develop academically as well as athletically before they transfer to a 4-year university. And this would most likely be on a scholarship. In terms of the UK pathways, in the UK, as I've previously mentioned, many universities work with semi-professional clubs or private academies to provide a dual pathway of both academics and sport. They do offer full scholarships within the UK. However, they are very hard to come across. And these opportunities for the most opportunities that they do provide are partial scholarships for tuition discounts, housing support, and training with top-level coaches. So no matter where you're applying, you must definitely take initiative and put yourself out there, as these coaches definitely won't find you by accident. We're now going to have a little bit of a halftime to answer some of the questions in the chat. And then thereafter, if you could also please just take some time to scan our Instagram page, in which you will also find a link to our link tree on our Instagram, just to follow the rest of our socials, in which we have our success stories. These are just a few of them on our page that you can have a look at as well. And then we will start thereafter. Skylar, thank you for your message in the chat. Unfortunately, that is not possible from our side. You would need to be both you would have to have good academics as well as grades in order to try and earn a full bursary to go or full scholarship to go and study abroad. But we cannot guarantee that we can provide you with a full scholarship offer. But thank you for your question. Great. Now we move on to life as a student athlete. We'll now bring in our guest speaker Keegan Lazarus. Now that we've explored how to get there, let's hear what it's like once you're there. Please welcome Keegan. Keegan, you've walked this journey yourself. Could you tell us about your typical schedule while balancing sports and studies?
Yeah, typically balancing sports and studies is, it's very important. You cannot do well in one side of the aspect. You can't do well in the classroom and then drop in your sports and in your team. You could lose your scholarship, and vice versa. You can't go there as an athlete and just do well and then not focus on your grades and let your GPA drop. So there's definitely needs to be a balance. With us, with regards to balancing and how we used to do it, our coaches were very, very, very hands-on. They understood that you needed to do well in the classroom, and they understood that sometimes we'll be traveling or you're playing away games and you might miss a couple of days of school. So what we used to do is we would have study sessions. So if we were traveling, let's say 2 or 3 days, we were going to a different state to play a game, we'd stay in hotels. The coaches would then say, like, every evening from 6 to 8, we would have a study hall or study sessions where you come down, everybody meets meets downstairs, and we'll maybe hire out a room in the hotel, and everybody will just go and study or focus on writing essays or any assignments that you have for class. So there's definitely a balance, and the coaches do understand that. Typically with regards to practice and things like that, practices are normally scheduled in the late afternoon so that you can go to class in the morning from 8 to 2, 8 to 3 o'clock, whatever your class schedule is. And so that wouldn't interfere with your soccer practice or your soccer schedule. We normally would have practice about 4, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, where majority of our athletes were available. And so there was no conflict with classes or with scheduling. Soccer was separate time away from school and not really interfering with school. So there was a really nice balance between studying and playing your sports.
Great. That's great to hear that you had coaches and a support system who would not just leave you out there to try and figure it out yourself in terms of sports, balancing the sports and the athletics. You had coaches and at least at your teammates who held you accountable to actually maintain both. So that's very good to hear and nice to hear. I wanted to find out from you, what did you think about your campus support on arrival and then adapting to a new culture? So was there any form of language barrier in terms of understanding accents or food cultures or anything like that?
Yeah, there was definitely a language barrier which we had to get used to. So I'll tell you a quick story. My first year, so we had a international advisor, somebody that would look after all the international students, right? So as part of campus support, if you needed to go somewhere, if you needed to go to Walmart, and most internationals don't have cars, so we would have this advisor that would come to us and just trying to make sure that all the internationals are comfortable and happy and everything is just running smoothly, right? So one day we had we were going to have a braai in the States, right? So, or on campus, we're going to have a braai, and he's invited the English guys, the Brazilian guys, the Mexican guys, like everybody that's international student, come down and we're going to have a nice braai. So he asked me and a friend of mine to go to Walmart and get all the braai stuff. So we go to Walmart, it's me and this American guy. And we go to Walmart and walking around, and I say to the guy that works, I was like, man, we're looking for braai coal. Can you just, tell me where's the braai coal? He's like, what? No, the braai coal, man. We're going to have a braai back at campus. We're looking for coal. And he's like, I don't know what you're saying. As I looked at my friend, I'm like, dude, tell him what we're doing. We're having a braai. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, what does that mean? And so I had to think, like, you stop and like, okay, what is braai? Oh, a barbecue. We're having a barbecue. So we had to go and get barbecue coal. So that's just like an example of like just the barrier. When We went to a restaurant once and I asked for a glass of water. And the waitress said to me, "What, you want some vodka?" "No, water." "Glass of water." She's like, "Vodka?" And so I had to again think, I'm like, water, I need water. And sometimes you have to change your accent and just make it more so that they can understand. So there was definitely a language barrier in the beginning, but it's fun. It's all part of the process. It's all fun, the part of being an international student. But those are two stories that really stuck out just with regards to adapting to a new culture. In terms of the facilities and kind of support from the university, when I first arrived at the airport, my coach picked me up from the airport. There was a couple of guys on the soccer team that came and picked me up from the airport. So that was really cool. When we got back to the dorms, this isn't usually typical, but the university had given myself and my roommate, who came a few days later, but he was also from South Africa, and they bought us bed sheets and pillows and blankets and deodorants and toothbrush and toothpaste. Like, they just kind of looked after us, which isn't normally very typical. Not a lot of universities will do that. But yeah, you get some universities that are very over-accommodating for internationals just because they realize that you are so far away from home, you're far away from your parents, you've kind of left your life behind in your home country. For me, obviously South Africa, and I've moved across the world to the States. And so they are very accommodating. They are overly accommodating, I would say sometimes.
Okay, great. So once again, it's perfect to hear that obviously there is some fun along with adapting to the new cultures, as well as you're not just also placed in a dorm and expected to figure it out yourself. You do have that campus support and the international leader per se that would help you navigate your way through things. So that's great to hear. And if you had to see or speak of any pros and cons of being there, as well as your journey while you were there, what would you say your pros and your cons were?
Pros, I would say, were definitely, so as a South African player, I've always wanted to play against other countries and find out what, are Brazilian players really as good as they look in the World Cup and in international games? Like, I always wanted to play against Brazil and always wanted to play against guys from England. And so the pros of being an athlete, at least for myself, was playing against other international soccer players as well. So there were guys from England, Brazil, Mexico, Spain, Serbia, Russia. I mean, there was guys from all over the world that we would compete against, even have a lot of Brazilian guys on our team as well. So that was really cool to kind of learn how they approach the game, to see how they play, like what they do differently to us, to me. So that was really cool, a pro of kind of being an international student playing in the States. I would never have had that opportunity to play against guys from around the world here in South Africa. And so that was really cool. That was a nice pro. The cons are probably what you would expect as a student athlete. The cons are that you're so far away from home. You miss a lot of things. So, if you're going to be an athlete, be prepared to miss birthdays, Christmases, it's your mom's birthday, it's your dad's birthday, your best friend's birthday in South Africa. And so you miss a lot of that. And so there are times when you can get very homesick. I think it was my first or my second year. I think it was my first year. So I stayed in a very small town. It was known as a college town. So there were 3 universities in this small little town. There was an NAIA school, a D3 school, and a Division 1 school. And so when it was December, everybody went home. It was like a ghost town. Nobody was there. And so the handful of international students that are there, you like walking around town and it's empty. It's just like empty. And so now you start, man, I wish I was home for Christmas. And you see all the posts on social medias and your friends are all out for the New Year's Eve party, or, they're kind of having fun and just having a blast back home, and you're stuck in the States alone. Like, there's nobody there. So yeah, the cons can feel a bit hectic. One year we had, my roommate was a South African as well. I knew him before I went across. And one year the both of us stayed over in the States, and we had Christmas. It was Christmas. And so we're walking around town, like, surely there's a restaurant open for Christmas. Like, let's go out, like, let's go have a nice lunch. And there was nothing. And I said, it was a college town. It was like a ghost town. There was nothing open. We ended up walking around. We ended up going to a garage, getting rolls and Lay's chips. And that was our Christmas lunch for that year, my first year. And so you're sitting at the table and it's just you and him, and we eating Lay's chips and rolls. And you look and you just like, man, if I was home, we'd be having a turkey right now. We'd be having this. And so you start to you feel homesick. And those are definitely the cons of being so far away from home. But you get over it and you move on. You in your feels for a little bit, but then you move on.
Great. Yes, I was about to ask you and say, I'm sure as much as that's a con and obviously a barrier or an emotional barrier that you had to face, I'm sure it was all part of the experience. It was quite a journey. And then obviously you've built some good friendships that side. Are you still friends with any of those students that you used to stay behind on holidays with?
No, absolutely. That was also really cool. The friendships that you built have lasted forever. So I still speak to so many guys in the States that I've made friends with, from Americans, English guys, Mexican guys, other South Africans that were there as well. So the friendships that you make in university, I feel are, life lasting. So I'm very, very happy. We've actually, in my job and working with students and trying to help students, I've had to ask and rely on some guys that are sitting in the States to kind of help me with visas or help me do this. And please, can you help me get this guy across? I had my wife also, she works with a lot of, in her company, so she works with a lot of European universities or European companies. And she needed help with Spanish. You couldn't translate a document. And so I would send it to one of my friends from Mexico, and he could translate the document and speak to, so, that's cool. You make long lasting friends, which is really nice. So I'm always very glad that I can always lean back on some friends that I made in the States.
Great. No, that's great to hear. And I'm sure it's nice for the parents and the students that have joined us today to hear that as much as there are pros and cons, there's always benefits to the end of it at the end of the day. If you don't mind, we're going to dig a little deeper into your personal story. And I would like to start off with just asking you, how did you first get noticed by a coach abroad?
So the journey for me started very late into matric. I didn't really know what I was going to do after matric. I was kind of on the fence. The USA was never really an option. And just kind of how the process started for me was I saw an advert on Facebook for a company that was doing a very similar thing to what we're doing now at Sable. A company that was going to help students study abroad and do the marketing and kind of do the process. So I reached out to them and organized calls with them and sent them my highlight video, sent them my sports CV, and they marketed me to a whole bunch of universities in the States. And I didn't get a heck of a lot of offers. I got a couple of offers that came through. I spoke to a few coaches. And when I spoke to my eventual coach, just had a very good relationship with him. Like from the minute we had a phone call or a video call, at that time it was Skype. From the minute we got on a Skype call, it was just, I just kind of knew like, all right, this is, just had a good feeling. So that was eventually where I went. But the process, it wasn't something that I'd always wanted to do. It was something that I kind of stumbled upon and kind of went through with it.
Okay, great. And you've mentioned there that you didn't really get a lot of offers. Was there any point in time where you felt maybe disheartened or had any hiccups on your feelings? I'm sure it's just something I thought about while you were speaking. So I'm sure there are some students online who have more or less the same question about navigating the feelings and the process of maybe not getting offers or only getting a few offers, so forth. How did you handle that?
Yeah, there was definitely a point where it just felt very overwhelming. I remember when I was studying for the SATs, at that time, the SATs was out of 2,400, I think. And so I remember leading up to the SATs, I was like, I can't do this. This is too much. I don't want to do this. It's just felt like too much. And luckily I had a strong support system behind me. My family were very supportive and they kind of pushed me through, but there was definitely a time when I just felt like, nah, this isn't for me, and I don't want to do this anymore. So I'm very glad that I pushed through and that my family pushed me through, because it was honestly the best 4 years that I had. I loved my time in the States, and so yeah, there definitely was time where it felt a little overwhelming, but I'm very, very glad I pushed through. And so I think that is a lesson for our athletes that are currently in the program, and for any student that is looking to go through this process, is it is going to feel like a lot at some point, but keep your eye on the prize. It's all worth it in the end.
Okay, great. Thanks for that, Keegan. And I know I had a few athletes, and I'm sure you've had a few athletes ask you this question before. Can you tell us a little bit more about the different style of play in South Africa compared to that in the USA collegiate levels?
Yeah, South Africa, I think our players are very, very good technically, right? With the ball at their feet, very, very good. We're quick feet or very fast, like we can get out of like situations easier. I think that South African soccer is really good technically, right? In the States, and especially in college, I found it to be very physical, where a lot of the time Americans, especially maybe the British, are also kind of very, very, very difficult to get past. Like, they will use their body. They are very physical. Like, they don't mind putting you down, tackling, shoulder bars. Like, it's a much more physical game. I also find that in the college system, the athletes are very, very fit, where they'll run for 120 minutes. I have no problem running. And maybe in South Africa, I don't know, I don't think, I've been out of the game for a while, but I don't think that we are as fit or as physical as the Americans or the English, or, you know, some Serbian players or German players. So I would say that's the biggest difference. We're very good technically, and I think that they do the basics very well and are very, very fit, very, very physical. I think that's the biggest difference. Also, they're very big. Like, I don't know what they're feeding their athletes in the USA and in Germany, but they're like massive. And South Africa, we got a lot of shorter guys. Like, there's a lot of guys that are center backs that are like 5'6", 5'7", and then you're going up against a 6'3" English guy, striker. And so, yeah, they just very, very physical. I think that's the biggest difference.
Okay, thank you for that. Guys, just a quick reminder and a kind reminder, if you're on the webinar, could you kindly please just, while Keegan and I are having this discussion and I'm asking him some questions, if you could kindly please just pop some questions in the chat. I see there are a few that have come through already. If there's anything that comes to your mind, don't hesitate or wait. You can pop it in the chat. We'll get to it in a couple of minutes before we finish off the webinar. Okay, great. So Keegan, in terms of everything that you've mentioned so far, what would you say your biggest lesson through the entire process has been?
My biggest lesson, I would say, if I could, I don't know if this is kind of going to answer your question, but I would say if I could redo this process and just kind of learn from this experience, I wish I'd focused a lot more in school, right? In high school. I think that if I had better grades, I could have gone to a bigger, better college, better university. So I wish I had focused a little bit more on my grades, but I also wish that I'd started the process a lot earlier. So as I said, I only started in grade 12, towards the end of grade 12. I really wish I'd started a lot sooner, because I think once I realized that that was my goal, and the goal is to go to the States, the motivation to keep fit, get stronger, go to the gym, study harder, you know, that it all kind of, I had all that motivation with like 2 months left of school. So I wish that I had done this a lot earlier. So that would be my biggest kind of, if I had to redo anything, it would have been that. Lessons that I've learned kind of in the States, I don't think there's anything kind of different from playing soccer in South Africa or going to school. Like, there was nothing. Maybe I grew up faster because I was alone, like I was on my own. So if I didn't do my washing, or if I didn't study or I didn't cook, I didn't eat, right? And if I didn't study, I didn't pass the test. And if I didn't do my washing, I had a dirty kit for the match tomorrow. So I guess I grew up a lot faster, a lot quicker, which was quite nice as well. But yeah, I guess I hope that answers your question.
Great. Yes, it did. Thank you very much. And what are your top 3 tips that you would have for young players that are currently going through the process and are nearly on their way to the States, or those that are looking at signing up and starting with this process? What would your top 3 tips be for those student athletes?
So number one, I would say focus on your academics as well. There's a lot of, not all, not most, but there's a lot. There are some soccer players specifically that they're very good at soccer, but then they let themselves down with the academics. So they end up going to a junior college when they should be playing at an NCAA level. So I would say make sure that you are balancing your soccer and your studies. I think that is number one. And then secondly, get physical. Go get in the gym. Especially as a soccer player, as I said, it is a much more physical game in the States than it is to what we're used to here in South Africa. So I would say definitely put on a bit of weight, a bit of muscle.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I hope everybody's still feeling all good and well. If you guys could just pop a few more questions, or just say how you're feeling in the group chat, and then, as mentioned, we'll get to that shortly. Before we proceed with the Q&As of those that have come through, I would like to please ask you all to hop onto to take out your phones and scan our QR code. If this journey and listening to Keegan has obviously made you a lot more eager in going to study and play abroad, as well as pursue this avenue, then please do just scan this QR code and put down your details. And then one of us will be in contact with you just to see how we can assist you, obviously, going forward and actually making your dreams become a reality. So I'll just give you guys a few moments to scan that QR code and have access to our website where you can put down the details. Perfect. Thanks so much, everybody. We are going to go through to our Q&A. So we'll start with the questions that came through on the chat. Either myself or Keegan will answer those questions. And then thereafter, we'll start wrapping things up. So Keegan, Kaylo said, if you're a player in RSA and you're not very good at school, your points end up to 19 and you're in grade 12, how can you join an academy, and how can you get connections for going abroad next year? He's 17 years old. So 17 years old in grade 12, and he's not really great at academics, but he would like to join an academy and obviously go abroad.
Yeah, I would say if you can play, if you're a pretty good soccer player, if you're a decent player, if you can join a good club and get some good video footage, that's always great. When coaches watch your highlight videos, they definitely look at the level that you're playing at. So your opponents, they want to see if you're playing against good opponents. So for example, if you are from Joburg and you're playing against SuperSport or Chiefs or Sundowns, those are really, really good games and really, really competitive games. So coaches will definitely look at that. So yeah, if you can get yourself into a good club, that's a very good start. And then secondly, if your grades are not good and you're kind of already in grade 12, it's very difficult to kind of fix your GPA. But there is a school for you. You may have to start at a junior college and kind of work your way up and improve your grades once you get to the States. But yeah, there might be a step for you. start at junior college, improve your grades, get some good video footage, and then we can help you transfer to help you finish your degree.
Okay, perfect. He's also made mention there here in another message that he said that players under the age of 18 aren't allowed to travel to countries like the UK or the US if they're under the age of 18. And as mentioned, he is 17 in matric, and he would like to go to universities as of next year.
So I guess the nice thing about Sable is that we do work with there's a lot of departments within the company. So we have a immigration and a visa department that will definitely be able to help with that question. I don't know for sure. I would imagine that you would need some kind of letter or something from your parents stating that you're allowed to travel alone, or they may have to travel with you at least. But if you join Sable and if you're in our program, we can definitely put you in touch with the right department and the right people that will be able to answer that more clearly. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Kelly, I see here that you've made mention that you are currently a grade 9 learner at school and you are an average learner academically. You are, however, a very good soccer player and you have received many achievements for it. You are from quite an underprivileged area, but you excel in your sports and you would like to be assisted. Oh, and your name is actually Shagan. You're using your neighbor's laptop. Okay, perfect. Thanks for that, Shagan. So what we can do, if you have access to your phone or if your neighbor has access to your phone, as mentioned, what we can do is I'll go back to the previous slide for you. If you could just scan this QR code, I'll also put a quick link in our chat once we're done. Please fill in your details and I will be in contact with you tomorrow or within the next week, and then we can see how we can assist you going forward. I'll have to do a quick assessment based off of obviously your academics as well as your athletic ability, and then we can take it from there. And then Katlego said he's from Botswana, he's 15, and he's looking to go to the US with the program after his IGCSEs. He's a fullback currently playing for an academy, and he's already in touch with our talent identifiers. Is it possible for him to make it through with our program after next year when he's obtained good IGCSEs, or is he able to make it with our program at the age of 15 after he's completed his IGCSEs?
Yeah, Katlego, you definitely can. I would say, again, just kind of reach out to us and we can definitely help you. Finish your IGCSEs, and then if you want to study a little bit further and maybe go to a better university in the States, you can do that. If you want to get your AS levels or your A levels or whatever it is. We will definitely help you through that process. Anybody that signs up through Sable or to join the study abroad team, you'll be given a student success coach who will work with you throughout your journey, even while you're in the States, if you want to transfer or anything like that. So you will have somebody dedicated to you, helping you through your high school, through your academics, to make you as successful as possible to be placed in the States. So absolutely reach out and we'll definitely be able to assist.
Okay, great. Thanks for that, Keegan. And then Kilo, I see you've also asked what are some of the names of the junior colleges that you can approach. As I've mentioned to Shagan, if you can just either follow the link that I've sent in our group chat or scan the QR code on the screen, please fill in your details, and then we will definitely be in contact with you tomorrow or within the next week, and then we'll be able to assist all of you accordingly. Great. I think that's all the questions that we have for the evening. Keegan, if there's anything else you'd like to say before I wrap up on my end?
No, just thank you very much for having me. This was really fun. It was cool to share some of my experiences, and I hope that at least one person is motivated or excited to go through the process and kind of have a similar experience to me. But yeah, as I said, I really, really enjoyed my 4 years in the States, and I'm really excited to help any South African player to study abroad. So thanks for the opportunity to share.
It's a pleasure. So that brings us to the end of tonight's session. I want to thank you all so much for being here. A huge thanks to you as well, Keegan, for sharing your story and all the practical tips you have given us. It's very clear how valuable your experience has been in terms of navigating the same path for the individuals going forward. And then for everyone watching this, your journey is more than just soccer. So please do make sure that you focus on your academics just to broaden your future and obviously build some more skills to open up a bigger and brighter future for yourself. We will be sending up a follow-up email with some takeaways and the links to this video footage. And then until then, we hope you play hard, study smart, and aim high. Good night, everybody, and good luck.